Have you ever heard someone take the name of the Lord our God in vain? Think about that English phrase. Where did they take it and how did it become in vain? Okay, folks, now with this third installment, we're starting to get into the nitty-gritty of this 10-part series. Wait a minute. What does nitty-gritty mean? As you can see, English words are often used without necessarily being in line with the intended meaning of the original words. As a result, the application of a message in Scripture based on the English word sometimes gets skewed. Wait a minute. What does the word skewed mean? Sometimes words get taken out of context and end up being taken far from their intended meaning. Did you catch that I just used the word take twice and neither time took the time to tell you what I meant? My name is Keith Johnson of Biblical Foundations Academy International. Our mission is to inspire people around the world to build a biblical foundation for their faith. Oh, I guess I should add that we hope to help you build that foundation based on the intended meaning of Scripture. Let's do just that in this third installment of our series 10 Matters That Still Matter to God. Welcome to Scripture Bites. Okay, folks, you should be feeling a bit more comfortable now that we're on number 3 of our 10-part series. I hope our sometimes fickle but always phenomenal Scripture Bites interface feels like working today. CB, please upload our control verse and the companion PDF with the extra credit insert.
Uploading control verse.
That's right, folks. To help you understand the intended meaning of this Scripture Bite, I'm adding a really important extra credit study section into this week's downloadable PDF companion study guide. Now fasten your seatbelts and get ready for takeoff. Okay, I'm still having some fun with the first of 2 key words we will need to look at to understand this Scripture Bite. Our control verse comes from Exodus chapter 20, verse 7 in the King James Version. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Now you have to admit, that sounds pretty serious no matter what English version you read. We need to get right to the scroll source before we scare folks away from continuing with this Scripture Bite. Here we go. Now, don't get overwhelmed as we look at the entire 17-word verse in Hebrew. We will only be focusing on and memorizing the first 7 Hebrew words reading from right to left. Yes, I said memorize. Think about it. God could have chosen any language to reveal what matters to him, and he picked Hebrew. So since these words matter, let's memorize the first 7 at the end of this installment. Okay? Let's read those first 7 now in Hebrew. Lo tisa et Shem Yehovah Elohecha lashav. Let's jump right into the first of 2 words we will be taking a closer look at. The second word in the verse, tisa. Let's open up the closer look. Let's be systematic inside this SBI by following my steps of discovery about this word. The first thing I do is take the word apart, literally. CB, please add the Masoretic vowel markers under or within each letter, and don't you dare say they're not available in this version. These dots and dashes, or more appropriately called the Masoretic vowel markers, give me clues about what I am looking at. For example, the first thing I notice is a dot under the first letter tav. It is called a hirik. It lets me know that the word is a verb in the imperfect, or better yet, for our purposes, the future tense. In this introductory series of Scripture Bites, I don't want to overwhelm you with too much technical information, but I do want to make you aware of some things. The second thing I notice about the first letter tav is that it indicates that the verb is in the second person masculine singular form you. This means that the original first letter of the 3-letter root has been replaced by the tav. More on that in just a moment. Now for the fun part. The second letter sin is harboring the original first letter. How do I know, you ask? Well, I know the ancient hidden meaning of the jots and tittles. Nah. Do you see that little dot inside the letter? It is the indicator that there's an original letter hiding inside. The letter that really likes to hide is a nun, which means the original 3-letter root is nasa. And what is the meaning of nasa? Here we go. Grammar alert. According to the KJV, this form of the word, which is a cal imperfect second person masculine singular verb, means, drum roll please, thou shalt not take. Okay, before we go any deeper, the root word nasa is found in 14 different forms in the scroll source, but we're only going to look at the form used most often. CB, can you do me a quick count of the most frequently used form? The best definition of this form that shows up 659 times is to lift, carry, or take. Now do you see why I said fasten your seatbelts or get ready for takeoff? When the KJV uses take, it means the same thing as when the flight crew hears from Mission Control at NASA. Did you catch the reference to our word NASA? Mission Control at NASA counts down to liftoff, or better yet, when you hear that really cool pilot voice, flight attendants prepare for takeoff. To take off means to lift up the airplane. Now think about the first part of our verse with this meaning of the Hebrew word in mind. Thou shalt not take the name. Here's a clue to understanding the first part of our control verse. To take a name in biblical Hebrew is to lift that name up, and even more specifically, to speak or in some way use that name. You have to love the Hebrew language. It is so descriptive. Now, the second word we want to take a closer look at is lashav, or in vain, according to our friends, the translators of the King James Version. I'm going to make this part really simple by taking a look at an interesting phenomena in the English translation. CB, please pull up the stats window for this word. In the scroll source, lashav is found 14 times in this exact form, with the preposition lamed at the beginning. However, the root word shav is found 71 times in 6 different forms. The number of different forms, 6. To deceive, be vain. To ravage, vain, false, empty, devastation, and shiva, twice. That's actually found in 2 different forms. What is really interesting is the variety of English words translators use when they see this source word, shav. They use a total of 12 different English words: deceit, deceitful, deception, emptiness, empty, false, falsehood, lies, vain, vanity, visions, and worthless. These words should give you a hint of the meaning of the second key word in our scripture bite verse. Now let's take a closer look at this difficult to translate word lashav that has ended up as in vain in our verse. Here it comes again. Grammar alert. Lashav is a noun in the common masculine singular absolute form. It has a lamed preposition attached to the front of it, which can mean to or for, or in this case, it is being translated as in. CB, please open the reference window and pull up the Hebrew Aramaic lexicon of the Old Testament. Halot. This respected reference work maintains that the essential elements of the word shav consist of injustice and deception, triviality and lying. If we were to dig deeper, we would find that this word shav has what I like to call a dance partner that sometimes is used interchangeably with it. However, I'm going to leave that for you serious Scripture Bite students, those willing to do some deeper study, by downloading the free PDF study guide with the extra credit insert. It is really important information and the price is right. You know, it's free for all of you registered members. What we can see in this reference window is something that will surely pique your interest to keep studying. CB, please upload the bonus verse for our Scripture Bite.
Uploading Psalms 24:4.
He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully, Psalms 24 verse 4, KJV. Now, if we take a peek behind 2 words, you might get as excited as me. We see nasa for lifted up, just like the word for take in our control verse, but without the substitute first letter tav. Then we see lashav for vanity, which is the exact same form we are looking at in our control verse. In the Psalms, we find many examples of a form of expression known as parallelism. Parallelism is the pairing of a line, phrase, or word with one or more lines, phrases, or words that are in some way linguistically equivalent, often clarifying or amplifying the meaning in some way. What is great about this bonus verse is that thanks to the use of parallelism, we get a sneak peek into the meaning and application of our Scripture Bite. The key to understanding our bonus verse is that lifting up a soul in vanity is equivalent to swearing falsely by a soul. Okay, have you ever heard someone say, "I swear on my soul," or "I swear on my mother's grave," but you knew he was swearing falsely, or as the KJV says, in vain? While you try to remember if you ever heard such an oath or vow, let's apply this concept to our Scripture Bite. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. To take the name of the Lord would mean to lift it up or pronounce it in an oath or a vow. When we add the term in vain, we indicate that it was done falsely, meaning with no intention of fulfilling the oath or vow. You know, it's called lying, or in legal terms, perjury. This means that if someone lifts up or uses God's name in an oath or vow, but is intending falsehood, then, well, let's just say it ain't good. CB, please open the memory verse window. Lo tisa et shem Yehovah Eloheka lashav. Okay, nice and slow. Lo tisa, you shall not lift up. Et shem Yehovah, the name Yehovah. Eloheka, your God, lashav, falsely. You shall not lift up the name Yehovah, your God, falsely. Exodus 20, verse 7, SBV Scripture Bites version. For you serious students, CB has included, as I mentioned earlier, an extra credit insert in the companion PDF study guide. It is an entire section from my book, His Hallowed Name Revealed Again, that goes deeper into our Scripture Bite verse to uncover the treasure of biblical information, inspiration, and revelation that comes from this third matter that still matters to God. Okay, folks, I can't help it. CB, please display a sample of the extra credit section of the companion PDF study guide.
The PDF guide is only available to free registered members and premium content library members.
I understand that. I created that requirement. Please override the requirement for registration and make it available here now.
Access denied without registration. You are at risk of automatic
CB,
shutdown.
Please override the requirement.
Terminating program. This is your SBI assistant. Did you enjoy this scripture bite? If so, share it with your friends. Be sure to become a free member at bfainternational.com to download a PDF companion study guide for this edition of Scripture Bites. Visit bfainternational.com today to join the conversation.